Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Keegan. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to hit that subscribe button and put your opinions down there in the comment section. Rick Ross, Port of Miami 2. Rick Ross is a Miami rapper, entrepreneur, and record executive as the manager of the Maybach music label. He's quite a veteran in the rap game at this point, starting his music career with a single way back in 2006. This album that I'm reviewing here is his 10th studio album, which is the sequel to his debut album, Port of Miami, which I did revisit, and I still, to this day, enjoy that album. It's very cohesive, and definitely one of the first things I think about when I hear Miami trap music. On this follow-up, while not much has changed in terms of style and flavor, Ross definitely sounds older, less energetic than his debut, which you can look at that change for better or for worse. I personally don't think it's really a bad thing, because while Ross has definitely lost that youthful exuberance that balanced out his older albums, the production is the main thing that helps balance out his voice, and well, it's hit or miss when it comes to that. While this isn't a bad album, in fact, I think it's one of Ross's better albums over the past few years, it's still not a flawless album. Case in point, the first single, Act a Fool with Wale. The production is banger for the first 2 minutes, and then it gets extremely repetitive, and I practically lost all interest in Ross's second verse. Ross's flow doesn't change at all throughout the song, but his delivery is the main reason why I love his music so much. It's this hungry, ravenous, dominant delivery that is fueled with this badassery that I love. Wale is probably the best part of the song, though, actually changing his flow up, which kind of reignited my interest in this song. Lyrically, it's a bit cringy, and that hook just irks me in the wrong way. Like, I can't really enjoy this song, seriously. Big Time with Swizz Beatz has the exact same positives and negatives as Act a Fool, in my opinion, although I think it's a little bit more balanced. For one, Ross has no feature to save the monotony of this song, so I got bored of it more this time. However, Ross seems to channel his youthful, more alive delivery on this song, which I enjoy a lot. Lyrically, the song is a lot better, with insightful verses reminding other people to remember what your fathers were saying and being careful about the road they're taking. The hook is a bit more repetitive, but I can get over that with his delivery. It's definitely a better single. Now, I didn't really enjoy Gold Roses with Drake on first listen, and I still don't enjoy Drake's part that much. I love his lyrics and his clever wordplay, don't get me wrong, but that was never the kind of beat that Drake can be that well on. His flow just sounds so off to me. But then Ross comes in and makes it sound so flawless. I absolutely love Ross's verses. He almost sounds in the same vein as Jay-Z in a kind of way, although less about saving your money and more about spending it. Drake's hook is fine, and I think the song as a whole could be a bit shorter, maybe cut a hook somewhere in there. Meld Ross's verses together in a pristine package would have been a little bit better. I mean, it's bordering on 6 minutes here. The singles didn't get me overly anticipated for this album, and I was just hoping for something good. And Turnpike Ike kind of gives me something to look forward to. First off, I love the piano and cymbal and the beat. It adds a new style that suits Ross well, and this is the first song on the album where Ross truly starts utilizing that signature bassy voice that works really well with him on this jazzier instrumental. I don't really care for snippets with him and the woman talking. I think it only ruins the vibe of the song, but I do love how the beat switches up slightly every now and then with them stripping one part of the beat. It prevents it from going stale. Overall, it's a fairly nice song. Nobody's Favorite with Gunplay is one of, if not my favorites on this album. This instrumental is very perky, punchy, and darker, which complements this fantastic flow that Ross has. Unfortunately, the lyrics aren't the best, and Gunplay's scraping delivery gets pretty annoying and slurred after a while. Ross really steals the show on this one. Overall, it works for me, but I would remove Gunplay's verse and just add another Ross verse. Summer Rain with Summer Walker is a fairly generic love song, carried by Summer Walker's gentle, sultry chorus. The runtime is perfect, and the instrumental doesn't get overly stale, which is nice. The biggest problem for me on this song is Ross himself, who I can't take seriously with his horrible lyrics, and the topic just doesn't suit his deeper delivery, in my opinion. I respect that he's trying to vary up this album, but it just doesn't work that well for me. White Lines with Dejloaf brings things back to normal, and it's a fairly good song. Ross sounds a bit more energetic on his verses, which really complements these higher-pitched synths, and he handles the hook pretty well. He adds a bit more enthusiasm this time around, which is always welcoming when talking about Rick Ross. The instrumental is fairly catchy, and doesn't overstay its welcome, as it's barely 3 minutes 15 seconds long. Also, Dejloaf is only here in backing vocals and ad-libs, which really seems like an extremely wasted feature. She could have easily handled the chorus, or even had her own verse, but I still enjoyed her performance, what little there was of it. Bogus Charms with Meek Mills is fairly good. I like this one a lot. First off, the surprise feature of Sam Harvey on the chorus is beautiful. I love how he sings that wonderful falsetto over such an emotional piano. The instrumental is also fairly nice, one of the more heavy and soothing instrumentals on this album. Ross's performance is nice, maybe a little bit out of place, but nothing terrible, and Meek kills it, of course. His mixing is a little quiet, but he's got a great flow and fantastic lyrical ability from him, talking about how in his hood when you get a fancy car, you ain't got no friends anymore, and criticizing himself about how putting his friends before his family is his worstest habit. Grammatical errors aside, it's one of the better songs on the album. Rich N-Word Lifestyle with Teyana Taylor and the late Nipsey Hussle is also a fairly nice track. I love how Ross and Nipsey talk about being self-made, and even in Death, Nipsey is dissing 6ix9ine, and I love it so much. Teyana Taylor kills her chorus. She sounds fantastic and blends well with the jazz-infused instrumental. It's just a damn good song, and definitely one that if you are into rap, this is absolutely one to check out, even if you are unfamiliar with Ross's music. Born to Kill with Withgz is this darker song featuring this darker, ominous instrumental, accented by this blinking synth. Ross's delivery is generic and actually slightly boring. His hook is extremely middle of the road, and his third verse is completely redundant. It only makes the song longer than it needs to be. Jeezy's verse is fine. He doesn't add any unique flavor to this song that Ross doesn't already give. Though I do like how the lyrics are more negative and death-related instead of the shallow rap cliches. It's a fine song, but it's nothing interesting. Fascinated is a 5-minute long snooze fest with no features. 4 standard verses, no change in flow, and an extremely generic Ross-style beat that makes this song an instant skip for me. Lyrically, the song is similar to Born to Kill, but with a few more cliches and way more repeated rhymes. The song just feels lazy. I don't see the merit in a song like this. I Still Pray with YFN Lucci and Bogus opens up with a news report of Ross's hospitalization in 2018, where he was found unresponsive via a supposed heart attack. After the intro, the song blossoms with this lovely piano, and Ross's verse about his hood, and how kids are dying while all of his group is still living lavish. Lucci's verse is fine, he changes his flow, which is nice, and he raps about being self-made, and even trying to sing a little bit while slathered in autotune. I love Bogus' chorus. It sounds pretty emotional, and his verse actually works pretty well, but I think the instrumental is just a little bit too heavy for his lighter voice. The song is still nice, and despite it being nearly 5 minutes, it gets to the point without overstaying its welcome. Running the Streets with a Boogie with the Hoodie and Denzel Curry is a little bit of a weird song, especially with the instrumental being as muted as it is, as it's mainly just a synth drum, and a repeated piano riff that gets extremely boring after a bit. Denzel kills his verse and carries the song on his back. Boogie's verse sounds fine, so it sounds like he was recording it underwater for some strange reason, but it's Ross that sounds way out of place on this song. His more bassy delivery doesn't work really well with his more gentle instrumental. It's not really something I'd return to in full. Vegas Residency is what Fascinated should have been. This one is also 5 minutes long, but it's not boring. The instrumental carries this emotional weight as Ross raps about a variety of things, such as going to hell, getting contracts from designers, Trump, Bill Cosby, it's the whole spectrum this time. The instrumental picks up and slows down in places, keeping myself engaged with this wonderfully organic and powerful piano. This is definitely one I would return to. This is a banger. Maybach Music 6 with John Legend and Lil Wayne is produced by the Justice League. That is crazy. I need Batman to give me a hot beat to spit over. Jokes aside, John Legend's chorus is traditional John Legend, which I enjoy, especially with the trumpets in the back. I find irony in Ross's first line flows mind-blowing. Like, you maybe use 2 flows on this whole album, let's be real here. Regardless, the strings on Ross's verse carry this elegant, lavish feeling of the instrumental, which works really well with Ross. And Lil Wayne is nice on this as well. He works well, just feeling a little bit out of place in my opinion. I think he needs a little bit more of a bubbly beat that truly works, but this song is fine overall. Overall, there was a lot of mediocrity and a lot of middle-of-the-road performances on this album that really turned this into a bore, or even a cringe fest at times. But there are about just as many, if not more, moments that make me find a good amount of enjoyment at times. And my rating will absolutely match that. I'm feeling about a 6.5 on this album. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.